So, Giorgio, you probably agree that the professional sports today has a really high financial entry barrier for athletes as well as for small investors. From your point of view, how did you start with your career? Actually, how do you have any financial issues at your very beginnings? How do you remember this time?
Yeah. So at the beginning, it was as a martial artist, you had to, because it wasn't a sport with that much money in it at the time, mixed martial arts especially, when it was just growing. It was a little bit like before the blockchain ecosystem boomed, and then which was probably 2015-16. But for mixed martial arts, it was a very niche or small market. And I clearly remember having to work, go to train in the morning from 6 a.m. till 8 a.m., go to work, have a full-time job, and then leave at 6 and then go back to training, so you could train twice a day like a pro would, but you would also have a full-time job in the middle as well, which you had to go to. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, to say the least. But when you're passionate about something and you love something, I was doing that happily at the time. I was happily doing it. And you're young and you have the energy to do it. You're in your early 20s, mid-20s, you've got the energy.
So can you compare maybe from these days now, how much can an MMA top athlete earn these days? Only from this point of view, from the professional.
I think top of the food chain now, you could easily retire with, depending on how big your mouth is and how much bravado you use going into fights, and how much of a bad boy you are, like Conor McGregor, for instance. You could be some of the highest paid athletes on the planet are in mixed martial arts, but they're very, very few in comparison to how much talent is really out there. So we're talking that, you could definitely be, earning millions for sure.
But although that martial arts are not one of the most expensive sports to start with, to begin with, would it be helpful also the beginning of your career that you to get some money from all the costs, of the travel or the preparation camps and so on?
For sure, because your first fight with the UFC, I think they pay you $2,000. That's the UFC. And to get to the UFC, you would have already had to have at least anything between 6 to 12 professional fights before they even look at you. Your first fight, you earn $2,000, just your medical for that fight, because you need to do your CT scans, your brain, and make sure that you don't have any underlying problems that could cause a serious problem in the ring or the cage. We're talking you're losing money on your first fight. So funding and travel, then you have to travel as well. Your coaches have to go with you. Then you've got your hotel expenditure. It could be, if you live in London, you might have to travel to Vegas for your first fight. You could travel anywhere in the world. So all of these are costly, plus the training camps. When you're training full-time as a pro, it's extremely hard to hold another full-time job at the same time. I'm sure many UFC fighters do it as well, still to this day, but it is very, very hard to hold a full-time job and train 2 to 3 times a day. You've got your kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling that you need to study, and you also have the strength and conditioning. Your diet needs to be on point. You need to sleep well. Any one of these factors isn't taken seriously into consideration, you could easily fall behind the rest of the competition and lose focus.
It sounds familiar. Maybe you can compare it with let's say, more popular from the beginnings with tennis. Yeah.
And even more expensive. The tennis tours and the LTA, the tour and all the coaching. I've got a feeling it's a lot more. Something like golf as well, which I loved from a young age. Golf and tennis, both extremely expensive for somebody to come in. Even with talent, you just don't get the money. You know, a lot of talent can fall behind, and they're very passionate about it, but never get to the top because they don't have the funding. Agreed.
Giorgio, do you remember your first earnings, your first professional salary?
I do, and if I tell you, you will actually you'll laugh. My first pro fight, I think, was it was £200, £200. But then there was ticket sales as well, luckily, and a lot of at that level it was about having a strong support from a lot of friends and family and your people in the gym. People in your gym would always come to your fights. Luckily, I had a lot of good people around me, and they would always support my fights, so I could make a little bit of extra income from the ticket sales.
So if you could turn back time now at this moment, because you know the situation comparing to 10 years ago or 15 from your beginnings, would you change anything?
I would have loved to get a strong management team behind me, because my coaches tried to be the jack of all trades. So they tried to be our coaches, they tried to be our managers, they tried to be our sports psychologists, they tried to be even like if we had a torn ligament or a shoulder, something wrong, they would fix us in the gym. We even had an oxygen mask outside the cage, and if anybody got knocked out, they would just get oxygen and then, hey, okay, you're all right now, get back to work. So it was. Everything was being done in the gym, and it just wasn't creating a professional environment. And we just as much as you go back and everyone was happy because they were doing what they love, it was definitely not, even though we were professionals, it just lacked that real professionalism.
But if I understood you correctly, you're speaking now from your restaurant. Is this what you earned from your career, that you can borrow a restaurant?
Right. This is my wife's restaurant. I'm part owner. I have some shares in the restaurant as well. It was my wife's concept, and we all helped. The whole family helped her put it together. It's a freshly made. We have freshly made pasta here, and you can choose your own pasta, make your own sauces. We even have protein pasta for the people that go to the gym. It's a grab and go. So what we did, which is special here, we kind of connected two cuisines together. So we also have like poke bowls, sushi, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of Japanese with a mix. You can either have sushi or you can either have pasta. But the main thing is it's freshly made. And a lot of office people in Holborn come here and grab it, and we're looking to expand soon as well. So yeah, it's freshly made food. Most grab and goes, they make it the night before. We make it right here, right in front of you. And it just, we're very busy. Lunchtimes and breakfast are very busy. So it's going really well.
So, Giorgio, maybe for conclusion, your suggestion for young prospective martial arts athletes, what would you suggest them from the beginning of their career, also from this financial point of view?
Where I believe SportyCo, this is the beauty of SportyCo, why I would always support what you guys are doing, and I would definitely commit to being somebody who helps drive your ecosystem forward, is no matter how talented you are, it's important to get a strong, solid management team behind you. It's important to get people that can communicate for you, because in any sport, if you're a footballer in one of the top teams on the planet, you're gonna have that ecosystem or the people behind you that can focus on everything else so you can focus on being the best athlete on the planet. Now, when you're worried about where your money's coming from, where your next fight's coming from, how much are you going to make? Do I have a strong management team behind me? Are they going to get me on the best shows on the planet? And you're just consistently worried about everything but actually focusing on what you should be doing. So what SportyCo allows these athletes to do, I believe, is allow them to focus on what they do best and not have any distractions, especially at early stages in your career when you're just learning your game and you lack experience. And the business world as well, that's very important too, because you don't have that business acumen to go out there and really drive yourself as brands. You need people behind you that can do that for you.
Giorgio, thanks a lot for this interview. Good luck in your restaurant. Be careful up there, and we'll stay in touch.
That's just for sure. This is just one business, so we have a few businesses, and we're always driving them forward. Yeah, this is just one of our businesses. So I've gone from a professional fight career to professional businessman. So it takes you. We just got back from Singapore. I was at the Blockchain Economic Forum in Singapore. That was a lot of fun and met so many interesting people in Asia that are part of this ecosystem.
Perfect. So we'll stay in touch. SportyCo and Giorgio Andrews. Thanks a lot.
I'm looking forward to working with you guys. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Bye bye. Bye bye.